It is the 23rd of March 2004. It's approximately 3:45 p.m. Interviewers are Wayne Clark and Mike Russert. Could you give me your full name, date of birth, and place of birth, please?
Robert E. Harris, October 8th, 1918, and born in Otego right here on this farm, up here in the country.
So you basically have lived here almost your whole life, then?
This is the farm I was born on, and I built this house. I built it all alone, without help, back in 1954.
Okay. What was your education prior to entering service?
High school.
Okay. Do you remember where you were and what your reaction was when you heard about Pearl Harbor?
Well, I was working in the feed store at that time in Otego. The reaction just let everybody. I was surprised I wasn't looking for that. I suppose if I'd been up on the news I would, but it was a surprise to me.
Mm-hmm. Did you know where Pearl Harbor was?
Yeah, I guess so.
You did? Okay. Were you drafted or did you enlist?
I was drafted.
All right. Did you select the Army Air Corps, or did you take tests?
We took tests, and that's where they put me.
Mm-hmm. Had you ever been in an airplane?
Yes, I worked in them a lot. Oh, I was always in and out of them, putting sights in and out and like that, you know. And yes, I made repairs to the plane sometimes when it was in our wiring system. And went from one island to another. Rode in a B-25 bomber once. And
well, I meant prior to entering service, did you ever go in an airplane?
No.
No? Okay. So you were in, you entered service in Utica?
Yes, I believe it did.
And then you said you went to Camp Upton?
Yeah, Long Island.
All right, and where did you go from there?
Miami Beach. I had basic training in Miami Beach.
Okay. Did you receive any specialized training?
Yes, after that I went up to Lowry Field in Denver and had bombsight maintenance. That included taking care of the Norden Bombsight and the Minneapolis Honeywell flight control, automatic flight control.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever have to do many repairs to the Norden site, or was it pretty...
we were on the field, we just did the normal maintenance. If they needed major repairs, we sent them back. But they didn't take a lot of repair, only just you had to keep them in good shape and clean, and keep them adjusted like that. But
did you find them to be very reliable then?
well, I found out that 9/10 Saab, you fought the gyro about 3/4 of the time. Once in a while you'd find one that the gyroscope would stand still pretty well, and so whenever we sent them out on a mission, we always had the best fun to send out. But I know at one time we had $1.5 million worth of bomb sights sitting in their shop there.
Wow.
What happened, they would, when they went out on a mission, they'd put a bomb sight in one plane, and the others would follow and lead on
right
them.
off the lead plane.
And that was in the B-24 heavy bombers, and we used them all to maintain them. But then we got into the B-25s. They generally went right in at deck level. They used the horizontal stabilizer to navigate by over and back. And they didn't even, when it come to drop the bomb, they usually didn't even use the bomb sight. In the B-24s, they'd go right in at deck level and just, they'd come in so fast and so close I couldn't hit them.
Now, did you ever fly as a crew member? Or?
No. It was strictly a bomb sight mechanic.
How long of a training period did you get to be able to work on the Norden?
I believe it was 3 months.
3 months, okay. All right, after you did your training out in Colorado, you said?
Yeah, Denver.
Where did you go from there?
Lowry Field, and then we went out to, let's see, Salt Lake City. I can't say the name of the field now. It was a few miles out of Salt Lake City. That we had our overseas.
I was going to say, that wasn't Wendover, was it?
No.
No, Salt Lake City.
Kearns, Utah.
Okay.
And there I had my, well, let's see, I had basic training and what they call it, overseas. I I can't think what they call the other training we had there. Basic training was in Miami Beach. And, I can't think what the word was.
That's okay.
So just more drill field and fights and stuff like that, you know, just training thing.
Now, when you were first assigned to the 21st Bomb Squadron, that was your first assignment?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And you were on B-24s. Then
Yes.
where were you based?
I would guess it was Amchitka. There's several of those islands that I was on. I would think that was probably the one.
So you were sent up to the Aleutians.
Oh yes.
Mm-hmm. Did they have to do much maintenance on the planes because it was so cold up there, or?
Well, they seemed to manage. They did say that the B-24s worked better in the cold weather, and the B-17s worked better over in Europe, and so we had the B-24 and B-25. But I never knew they were having any serious problems.
Now, where did the B-24s? What were their missions?
Well, first the last island to fall there.
Attu and Kiska, I know.
Kiska.
Kiska.
We were back up in the middle of the island chain, and through that winter we had the B-24s. Well, they'd fly down to Attu and refuel, and then go on over and bomb Japan a while, and they'd have some missions into Kiska. It bothers me so to remember these things. We rode down, we were up in the middle of the chain, and the last island to fall was, besides Attu, I can't say it.
Kiska?
Kiska, yeah. And so the people in the B-24s had been there through most of the campaign, and I came in later. So I was with them through the Kiska thing, and some of that, some of Japan, we bombed some, but that winter they didn't do an awful lot, but they did bomb some through the winter there on those two things. And the next spring, I believe it was, we came down to Shemya. That was a little island about 4 miles long, 1.5 miles wide, I guess. That's pretty well up towards that too. And from there we bombed Kiska until one morning suddenly woke up and there's nobody there. They came in the submarines and sent them all out overnight, I guess.
Now you eventually, I think you said I was looking at the one book, in September of '43, you went over to the 77th Bomb Squadron?
Yes. That was they said we were based on Attu and bombed Kurils, north of Japan, and
Now this is the 77th Bomb Squadron was strictly B-25s.
yes. Yeah.
Now you said that they didn't use the bomb sight that often because they flew so low.
Not for they used just what you had. Your bomb sight, you had a square box there, and that level kept your plane east, turning. It kept going in a straight line. And the top part that figured out all of the dropping angle and the drift and all those things, they didn't use it. So they just put the bottom half of the sight on and navigated by that. But we just put one plane in one plane, so we put the.
So you made modifications on the bomb sight then?
Well,
changes in a way?
The way it was made. The base kept it pointed in the right direction, kept it level and all that, and then up on top of that you had a little old thing about 6 inches round and 1.5 feet long, laid down side, and the gyroscopes in the base kept it pointed at the target, or going straight ahead, or whatever you're aiming at, and you had another gyroscope in there that kept everything level. And as you got ready to bomb, the plane, the pilot kept the plane at the right altitude. There was nothing automatic about that. But the rest of it, it would fly the plane, set up the course, drop the bomb, all at once. The pilot didn't even control the plane, or just the direction, the level of it. As you approach the target, you're looking through this telescope at it, and it's driven by a motor, and it keeps coming down, and you keep it right on the target. Well, down here you had 4 little handles that you turn to get it lined up, and you just kept your eye on the gyroscope to be sure it was level, which is the hardest part. Because some of us like to do better than others, but then as you approach the target, if you saw you were getting over it, you had a shaft here that had 2 knobs on it. One of the knobs are right together, and if you saw you were going off to left or right, you'd turn one knob, would bring your course back, and at the same time, the second knob would set up the changes and adjust the thing to keep it on target. It was quite a complicated thing, and then what they went by was, they'd say, now, it's like you're flying through a block of air. And when the wind blows from one side, that whole block of air is moving that direction. It said an airplane always goes straight through the air. Normally, it doesn't go cornerways through the air.
Right.
But the effect is that as you go forward, it also slides sideways, and so you have to set in the angle, and that tells you how far upwind to go and things like that. It was a nice little toy, and I enjoyed working with it.
So you said there really weren't many repairs, though, that you had to do with it.
They didn't break down or anything like that much. You had to keep them perfectly. They were very sensitive, those gyros and everything. At least a little bit of pressure on it, and just go crazy. And it had to be very accurate. You take they said if you were at 1,000 feet in the sea and you missed it by 1 degree, that was a mil. That's how they figured that. And it was a precision job. And another thing he said was that you couldn't hit a pickle barrel, and that was true. especially no, the biggest problem with the whole thing was the fact that the guy on the ground had the same equipment you did. He was aiming at you, but he didn't have to fool with all these gyros. He was sitting on a solid ground while you were trying to keep your plane solid and level and everything. He was aiming at you. I tell you, when they got pretty close, I think those boys got scared and dropped and ran a lot of times. I don't blame them. I would have.
So they could override the bomb sight then.
Well, that's it. It was much simpler for them to aim their guns at the plane than it was for the plane to drop the thing and drop the hit target, because we had all those gyros and stuff to deal with that they didn't have to. They just sat on them, like sitting on the table shooting at them.
You must have had quite a security clearance to be able to work on those, right?
Yeah, they checked us over pretty carefully, because everything was secret.
Were you allowed to talk about your work at all, even after the war?
Oh, sure, after the war, nobody ever said anything about it. At that time, I think they'd shot down so many, they had things anyway.
How many men were in your unit that worked on the bomb sites?
I don't know. No, it just worked on the bomb sites.
Yes.
Yeah, there was sometimes 3, sometimes 4, I guess sometimes 2 even. Each site that we had, every 30 days, I believe it was, you ran it through a certain process of examination and adjusting and cleaning and like that. And if there's any problem that one wasn't working right, well, that was just a matter of adjusting it right. It wasn't, they didn't break. They were very, very carefully made, and they were expensive. they had one little motor, about as big old, good-sized apple. It's mounted in the bottom of that thing, and the lower unit. And all that did before the war, they had a different system of follow-up. Well, that little thing there, that little motor put pressure on the gyros and changed them, and that's the way they steered the plane. But by the time we got in there, they used a whole new system. Well, all through the war, they put that little motor on the bottom there on every airplane, every bound flight that came through. They cost $400 a piece. Somebody made money there, I think.
Yeah.
And that was on the side.
Did either of your units ever lose many planes over Japan?
Yes, we lost a lot of them. Well, on that picture right there, that covers, you can look at it and see, it shows some of them are MIA, missing in action.
Okay, well, why don't you hold this in front of you, and so if you hold it straight up, Wayne can focus on that. So that's the 77th Squadron, that's the B-25 Squadron.
Yeah, B-25.
Let me see if I can just get each grouping.
Now, some of the pilots wore the leather jackets. Did you wear a leather jacket all the time?
Well, not all the time, but the fact was, when the pilots and crewmen, they had pretty nice fancy jackets, and they had one that was lighter and one that was heavier. When they get a little rough, they would
Thank you. Now,
hand them out to us guys. So
okay, did you
did
ever have them with the decorations on them at all? Like some of the pilots did, or the
No, I don't. I know the one I had was just one of the lightweight ones. I wore that a lot, but I don't remember if they left anything on it. I think before they gave them to us, I think they took most of that stuff off.
Okay. How long were you up in Attu and
I
Kiska?
think it was 27 months, if I remember right. I was in 39 months, I was in altogether.
What did you do for entertainment in your time off?
Well, we had a movie place and had a church and played cards.
Any USO shows come to visit you?
Oh yes, we had some of them.
Did
I was on there 27 months, I think, up there, and almost the end of that time, somebody said, "They're down there on 2 miles down the way. That's a nurse going across. That was the first woman I'd ever seen up there." So we didn't have many women to entertain us.
Did you see Bob Hope at all?
I don't know if I should defame the outfit that way or not. My mother, they never would let us know or let us tell what island we're on. But my mother had the radio on Christmas night, or after Christmas night, when Bob Hope's program was on. And he said on Christmas night we entertained the boys on Chitka, I believe it was, one of those islands. So then she knew where I was, because I'd written home about it. But that night, the fellows got a hold of some whiskey, and they had a lot of them laying out on the ground drunk and everything else. It was a winter night. So he didn't even come to our outfit, so I never did see him there.
Now, you had pretty warm winter gear?
Yes, we had made right out of sheep shearling, the skin and those layers.
Now, what kind of buildings did you live in?
The Pacific huts. They were like a Quonset hut only made of plywood. Yeah.
Were they kept pretty warm?
Oh yes, we had oil burners in them, circulating heaters.
How about food? Were you fed pretty well up there?
Most of the time, yes. The only time we were little more, had to rough it a little more. I was on Shemya, that little island there. That's where we bombed Kiska from, and we went in there. All they did, there wasn't a thing on it. Just 4 miles long and 1.5 miles wide, I believe, and very level. I think 20 feet is the highest elevation or something like that. And it rained all the while we were there, and the weeds grew right up almost to our belt. And you'd walk along on that island, and all at once you'd drop right in the hole. The water, when it ran off, when it rained and the water ran off, it would wash a deep trench right down in it, just wide enough to fall in handy. And all these weeds growing right up and bend over it. You'd be walking right along, and all at once there you are, standing down there, just your head sticking out. You're standing in this ditch.
Now I noticed in the photo album you had, you were catching fish. Did you?
Yeah, that was on Ad2, I guess, mostly. Yeah, they used to once in a while go out and, well, they had a dock down there where we fished off from, and I think once we took a boat out and sat out in the harbor and fished a little bit there.
So were you able to eat the fish, or?
The ones that we ate, those that we caught out in the ocean were kind of contaminated, and they didn't eat them much. But they had a little ditch there where, did you see the dog in the picture?
Yes.
That was a little creek that come down out of the mountains, run by it, and the salmon were running up in it. You could just see them in there, you know, you could throw stones at them. And what happened, the salmon as they went up would lose a few eggs along. Well, nice big trout would follow them to eat the eggs. So all you had to do was pick up a few eggs and put them on a hook and put them in there, and you had a nice big trout. We used to eat them sometimes. Bring them up to the hut and cook them on a little gas burner.
Now, where was this photograph taken? If you hold it in front of you, Wayne can focus on that one, yes.
Well, that was on that too, I believe. That was.
Now that's the dog you were talking about?
Yes.
Now where did you get that dog?
Oh, well, whenever a troop ship left Seattle, there's another better picture of it there. Whenever they left there, the fellows would coax a dog on board. He'd go right along with us.
Oh.
We had lots of dogs up there.
Now where are you in that photograph?
I'm on this side. I took the picture. I turned the switch on.
Oh,
Started the
okay.
shot.
Okay.
Now this is you up there?
No,
Oh.
I'm not sure, but I think that that's a picture of the fellow. He lived over here in Masonville. He was a aerial bomber.
Now that's showing the winter uniforms that you had, the winter clothing?
Yeah, that I didn't have those. The flight crew wore those.
Oh, okay. That's an interesting.
He went all through the war and flew I don't know how many missions and came home, died of pneumonia.
Really?
Which photo?
This one here.
Let's see.
It's an interesting.
Oh, okay.
He's a nice fellow.
Okay.
And this shows some of the buildings you lived. These are some of the buildings you lived in.
Yes, this was our bomb site shop. We had half of it up for the shop, and then we had an air conditioned thing with all fancy tools and stuff in it that you're supposed to work on the bomb sites in there, and generator and everything. We didn't use that much. We just used it in the other part mostly. What's that?
Okay.
Now this is the dog you said about hunting the.
Oh yeah, he was chasing the fish here. Somewhere in this place where he's taking a swat at one of them.
Yeah, I think the bottom
over
one.
here, yeah, this one.
Yeah, here's
yeah.
the dog.
That's Bigfoot. He lived in our house.
Okay.
One of these you?
This is me. I look like a fish.
He's fishing.
I was down on the dock one day fishing there.
Okay.
Okay, when would, now I noticed you were discharged in November of 45?
Yeah, sounds right.
Whoops. What did that have? Where were you discharged?
In New Jersey. Trenton, down by Trenton there.
Fort Dix, was it?
Fort Dix.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, did you remember where you were and your reaction when you heard about the dropping of the atomic bombs?
Yes, I was on that too. Everybody was happy. I thought this was a bad thing to be happy about, but
Well,
it sure stopped the war.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't realize that was going on.
Mm-hmm.
They were going to do that.
Could you tell us, hold this up and tell us when and where that was taken?
I believe it was in Denver. Well, we lived in those brick barracks there,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that was at the time. It was outside of Denver,
Mm-hmm.
Lowry Field.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember about what year that was taken?
Well, it was before I went overseas,
Okay.
so it had to be 42, I think.
Okay. Did you ever make use of the GI Bill when you returned home?
No, I said when I got that discharge, that's all I wanted.
Mm-hmm. Did you make the use of the 5220 Club at all?
No,
You didn't get a mortgage or anything for the GI Bill?
I never asked for anything. I could get tax breaks and things like that some, but I never did.
Uh-huh.
Did you ever join any veterans organizations?
No.
How about, did you ever stay in contact with anyone that was in service with you?
Yes, we had a radio man there, Jack Ingram, on that too. He and I are very good friends, and I got working. He knew his radio, and I had fooled around it a little bit. He helped me, and I got so I could build a radio and things like that with him. We got to be good friends, and then after the war, he and his wife would come out and visit us here. Oh, I don't know how many times we were there.
Where did he live?
Oh, shucks. I had my brain.
That's okay. That's okay.
Where they make their automobiles.
Oh,
Detroit?
Detroit, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Detroit.
How do you think your time in the service affected or changed your life?
Well, I don't know if it did very much or not. I was substituting on the mail route before the war. And the day after I got back, the postmaster called and asked if I wanted to go to work in the office. And then I guess in 49, I think it was, I got appointed on the mail route, so I probably would have done that anyway. I don't know.
How many years did you have at the post office?
I was just about 40. I was a substitute carrier before the war for 3 years, I believe, and then they gave me credit for the time I was in the war, so it all added up to about 40 years. But I think I only got credit for 39 because due to some of the records that weren't kept in the post office, I didn't quite get credit for all the time. But they always used me well. I can't complain.
That's good. And you got married after the war?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And
my first wife lived 12 and a half years, then she died.
Oh.
She had heart trouble. And it was quite a while after that, but I think that's about 20 years before I got married again. I married Dorothy Hamlin. She lived just over the hill here all my life. She was my customer. So I said she ought to know him better. She married me anyway. We've got 18 years in now.
Great. Okay, well, thank you very much for your interview.
Yes,
Well, thank
thank
you for your time.